Developing, FBI Chief Wray refused to answer if Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska was involved in Russian dossier, by Jim Hoff for thegatewaypundit.com. Keep your eye on Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska. In 2009, according to The Hill, when Mueller ran the FBI, the Bureau asked Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska to spend millions of his own dollars funding an FBI-supervised operation to rescue a retired FBI agent, Robert Levinson, who is a captive of the Iranian regime for 10 years now. In 2017, Mueller tied the same Russian oligarch, Oleg Deripaska, to Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort for previous work they did together. Robert Mueller never mentioned in his special counsel findings that he had worked with Deripaska in the past. Monday night on Hannity, Representative Matt Gaetz reminded Sean that FBI Director Christopher Wray would not tell Congress if Deripaska was involved with the Russian dossier. Here is that exchange between Senator Tom Cotton asking Christopher Wray about Deripaska. And then we'll take a listen to Hannity. FBI Director Wray refuses to say dirty dossier.
Mr. Wray, are you aware of a gentleman by the name of Oleg Deripaska?
I've heard the name.
Is it fair to call him a Putin-linked Russian oligarch?
Well, I'll leave that characterization to others, and certainly not in this setting.
Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, last week sent a letter to a London-based lawyer who represents Mr. Deripaska, and asked if Christopher Steele was employed either directly or indirectly by Oleg Deripaska at the time he was writing the so-called Steele dossier. Do you know if Christopher Steele worked for Oleg Deripaska?
That's not something I can answer.
Could we discuss it in the classified setting?
There might be more we could say there.
Thank you. And maybe we'll hear back from the lawyer in London as well to give us a straight answer. Jim Comey testified before this committee in an open setting last summer, and he referred to the Steele dossier as salacious and unverified. Does that remain the FBI's position?
I think maybe there's more we can talk about this afternoon on that.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to turn my attention to the threat posed by China, and specifically Chinese telecom companies. Senator Rubio spoke earlier, and I agree with what he said about the threat of a rising China.
Well, that's extra. So tonight, Representative Gaetz reminded Sean Hannity of the exchange back in February of 2018. FBI Chief Wray refused to answer if the Russian oligarch was tied to this. Let's take a quick listen.
As FBI director, the efforts that they were using to actually help save a former FBI and a CIA guy, and we haven't seen this guy in 11 years, I am not concerned about that one bit. I don't care. I think any effort to save an American, and Robert Mueller and the FBI, I'm all for it. I want to be very clear. The issue becomes the hypocrisy of this, because this is the same Russian oligarch that they're using in the Manafort case, and they never pointed it out. So that's a problem for me. Not the little laws that were cited. They might be a violation of law, but I'm kind of glad they tried hard to save this guy. That's my natural gut.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the real question is the whole Russia collusion case is, did someone ask a favor of Russia, right? Did Donald Trump collude and try to get a favor? Well, 6 or 7 years before collusion was a twinkle in the public's imagination, the FBI asked a favor of this same oligarch, the oligarch that's now a client and a witness against potentially Paul Manafort, and there's no disclosure. We in the public don't know. It doesn't appear that the courts know.
Well, let me ask you, did the FBI and Mueller ever tell Congress that they had asked this oligarch?
Great question. I talked to the Senate and House Intelligence
Committee to fund this, by the way. They got the Russian oligarch to pay $25 million. Actually, part of me thinks it's genius, but then don't use the same guy against Manafort and don't mention that you know the guy.
Yeah, I think that's right. I talked to the Senate Intelligence, House Intelligence Committee chairman from that time, Bill Nelson of Florida, Mike Rogers of Michigan. They both said that we were never briefed, and they were surprised to learn that such an operation occurred without Congress being informed.
All right, I know people are talking about the legality of this, and there's a specific law, the Anti-Deficiency Act, which prohibits the government from accepting voluntary services. You know what? That to me is total BS. This is like the superfluous, idiotic bureaucracy. I want that American saved. I want us fighting to save that American. So I'm not faulting Mueller for that. I'm applauding him, actually, which surprises some people. It's the hypocrisy. And they didn't mention that this is the same oligarch in the Manafort case. They purposely kept his name out.
Well, and Sean, your show and the great reporting John has done has demonstrated that this is but one conflict of interest. The Mueller probe is an orgy of conflicts of interest, and any one of them taken independently could potentially be brushed aside, but viewed in their totality, it shows how corrupt and biased this investigation is. Also an important point on this oligarch, Deripaska. Senator Tom Cotton asked a question in February as to whether or not Deripaska was involved in the drafting of the dossier with Christopher Steele.
Was he?
And Christopher Wray would not answer that question in open session.
We're going to pull that tape.
So very, very important that this very oligarch could have had a role in telling lies about Donald Trump, and that we still don't know that as the American people.
All right, you do point out not only the hypocrisy, the double standard, what clearly seems to be, John, something they're trying to hide in this case. What other issues?
And you know what the thing was? That Hillary nixed the deal for Levinson to the spy. What's his name? Levinson. He's still rotting in the prison, and Hillary nixed the deal to get him out. She left him there. So to all the FBI agents that are protecting Hillary, I say take a look at the playbook, what she did to Levinson and left him there. So she'll leave you there too. So it's a real disgrace what this evil human being did. But again, Oleg Deripaska was used by the FBI. Why do you think Ray didn't answer that question? Because it's true. That's why Ray didn't answer that question. But it's coming out slowly but surely. A lot of info is coming out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.